want to bring in our colleague from Football Night in America, Rodney Harrison, to talk about that and more. As Rodney, the slow steps of football returning give us a hint that things may be getting a little bit better. What would it be like for you as a player right now to be here in May, still not connecting with those new teammates, yet virtually trying to build those relationships going forward?
Well, I think you have, as an individual player, you have to put yourself in the best possible position. And what I mean by that is these virtual meetings, you can still get a lot out of those virtual meetings. The key is you have to make sure that you're attentive, that you pay attention, you write notes, that you do all the necessary things. I think the second part of that, too, is kind of what, as a player, what are you doing outside of those Zoom meetings and things? Are you calling other players? Are you communicating with other players? Are you making sure that you're in great shape? So as a player, those are all the things that you can do. But I still believe that you can get a lot out of virtual meetings. It's just a matter of how much effort you put into it as an individual player.
We've got a list of what the NFL is allowing teams to start doing that we'll put up here. And essentially, it's tomorrow. The big caveat is local and state governments have to be there, but they're phase one in the NFL. Consent forms, an infection response team. That's going to be big around the league for people who are experts in that area, an infection control officer, and clubs having their own protocols in place. They've put those in place. It's been a long time since they've been back in the building. You've been there in May when these OTAs are going on and this important part of the season is happening. What specifically are teams doing at this point that really give you a chance to start from a better footing once you get to training camp at the end of July and August?
I'm not 100% of what the teams are doing, Mike. I just think it's one of those situations where you have to, like I said before, you have to put yourself in a position where you are studying, that you're communicating constantly with the coaches, that you're watching tape, that you're doing all the individual things that you can do as a football player to prepare yourself for the season, because we don't know. I mean, yeah, they're opening things, but we don't know how these next 3 or 4 months are going to go. I had some meetings. I'm on the board of
Right.
my local school my kids go to, and they were talking about possibly
Mm-hmm.
open up the school. And I'm like, hey, how can you open up the school if you don't have a vaccine? So there's still a lot of questions going on and a lot of
Right.
uncertainty as parents, as let alone as a fan of the game.
Well, Rodney, you bring up a great point because baseball immediately for the summer and then football at the grassroots level, high schools, travel teams, and soccer, all of those things. That's the next level of sports that maybe we haven't discussed as much, but is equally as important because of COVID-19, because you're exposing not just the kids who fortunately have shown a lower propensity to get the COVID-19 illnesses, but also the coaches who sometimes are older and sometimes are in that range. Hey, I want to spin this to Aaron Rodgers because Friday Aaron did a conversation with the Green Bay media, a lot of national media on there after Jordan Love gets drafted in the first round. I read some of the comments from Aaron Rodgers. It just seemed like a very mature way of handling the situation. How much do you think the fact that he's lived through this once on the other side of it has helped him frame what's going on? And this is the quote we wanted to share. General reaction was surprise. Not going to say I was thrilled by the pick, but I understand the organization's not just thinking about the present and the future, and I respect that. Your thoughts on the way he's reacted to this?
Well, I think he's a little older player now. I think he understands that this is a business, but all players are paranoid. It doesn't matter your salary, doesn't matter, your resume, how many Super Bowls you win. When you draft a player that high, eventually they want that young player to play. And I think it was a wake up call for Aaron. I think it hurt his feelings ultimately because he felt like he did so much for the organization, and he felt like they weren't far away from getting to the Super Bowl. Add a couple pieces on the offensive side of the ball, his disappointment that they didn't do that, and they're right back in the mix. And I just think that Aaron Rodgers is looking at like, look, guys, I still feel like I'm in my prime. Why would you go out and get a young guy when we need help, in different areas? And I also think it was a wake up call. I think the Packers sent a message to Aaron Rodgers, say, hey, you know what? We know you're great. We know you're this and that, but now we have a younger guy. We're not looking for you to necessarily mentor him, but we got a younger guy that's going to be right behind. And if you ever slip off, we're going to go with the younger guy. I think it was a clear message sent by the Green Bay Packers to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and I think Aaron his words just kind of gave you a sense of the way he's going to approach it and handle it. And he rarely needs motivation. We watched this Jordan documentary. We're going to talk to the director of that here in a few minutes. And you see how Michael found all these motivation moments in his life, slights. If you, Aaron's great at taking those things and channeling them as motivation. I think you're going to see the best Aaron Rodgers you can see at this point in his career. Rodney, I'm wondering about the Patriots. Go ahead. You going to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think I was with the Patriots when they drafted Brandon Merriweather, a first-round draft choice.
Yeah.
Anytime you could be an excellent veteran player, but they're going to always try to get younger. They're going to always try to get cheaper, and they're going to always try to put that pressure on you. So so you don't feel like you control the organization. It comes down to just making sure that you have depth on the roster. And I just Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be motivated by this. And, everybody's going to be watching in the locker room how he deals with this situation. I think this is really going to be a turning point in his career, Mike.
Let me ask you about New England. You brought up New England. Leadership for that team. Obviously, Tom Brady's presence was so big, and you've told us about his leadership and the different ways he led. How do you think that team goes about finding the internal locker room leadership without Brady and obviously Gronk not being there, but he wasn't there last year anyway? Where do they find that as they look forward to this season of change for New England?
Well, this is the time right here. This is the time. All the guys that are volunteering, all the guys that come in, they do extra work once these facilities start to open. You start to really find out by a guy's work ethic, his commitment to the classroom work, how involved he is in everything that's going on around the organization. And then you start to see, this guy's been really consistent. Maybe we vote him a captain and a couple guys start communicating. And then before you know it, you have 2 or 3 or 4 leaders that emerge that normally wouldn't have been leaders. So I think the Patriots, that's the last thing that they're worried about is leadership. You got so many leaders on the defensive side of the ball. You got quiet leaders on the offensive side of the ball. And, of course, you still have Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a team that's looking at a 10-6 record, maybe 9-7 at the worst case scenario.
Wow, that's higher than some folks think. Hey, before I let you go, Cam Newton's still out there. Nobody has signed Cam Newton as of yet. Are you surprised by that?
I'm not really surprised, Mike. I think that a lot of teams might be hesitant to see if he's able to accept that backup quarterback position job. Cam Newton is a guy that's always been a starter. He wants to start. He wants to be on the football field. But if he's not willing to take up that backup job for this year, for 2020, I wouldn't think about signing Cam Newton.
Yeah, it'd be interesting just to think of Cam Newton and where he was and the impact he made, but potentially not being on a roster here when we get to training camp. All right, stay healthy. You look great, man. We'll talk to you soon. I like the look. You've kept it. It's pretty solid so far.
Hey, Mike, thanks, man. Great job on golf, too. It was nice having it back, brother. Appreciate you.
It was nice to be back for sure. Thank you, Rodney. Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.